everyone. Welcome back to the Film Fund podcast. I'm your host, founder, and executive producer at the Film Fund, Thomas Verdi. I'm also an award-winning filmmaker, producer, and film festival judge. I started the Film Fund to give filmmakers an easier, alternative way to get their films funded. Instead of working on a screenplay, crowdfunding campaign, or grant application, you write one sentence pitching your film for a chance to receive up to $10,000 and other prizes to make it. At the time of this recording, our spring 2022 narrative and documentary funding contests are open. There's about a week left for that deadline on May 17th. So honestly, by the time this episode comes out, they will be closed. But if you're listening regularly, or if you're listening at a later date, contests do happen regularly. So check us out at thefilmfund.co to enter your one sentence pitch for a chance to win up to 10 grand to make your film. And yeah, check out thefilmfund.co for the most up-to-date information. Sign up for an email newsletter. That's the best way to see the dates on all of our contests. Today we have David Linthicum. David, am I saying that right?
That's right, Linthicum.
I asked you about the first name, not the last name. Linthicum, cool. Thank you so much for joining us. David is one of our previous winners. He won the Expressway Cinema Rental sponsored prize, which was a weekend rental of a Blackmagic Ursa Mini G2 and an RE Prime lens set to make his film and make it at an awesome high production value and make it look absolutely amazing. So David, super excited to have you. David's a filmmaker. He can introduce himself a lot better than I can. David, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a film creator, writer, director, kind of all over the place in terms of crew-wise. I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland, but I moved to York, Pennsylvania when I was a young child, like in elementary school.
Okay.
So I got my start in film in ninth grade of high school at Dallastown High School, where I went. It's like a smaller high school up here, but it had like a really good film program compared to many of the other schools around us. So we were able to compete through there and get a lot of knowledge. So after I left there, I went to college at Towson University, also studying film.
Okay.
And there I really started to ramp up my production in terms of writing and shooting my own films. I think I made maybe 6 or 7 films at Towson on my own, and then
awesome.
Worked on several others as well. Yeah. It was a great time. I loved school, honestly. Like compared to the real world, school was like everything. So
I like school too. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I hate school." And I'm like, I was the nerd in the Shakespeare class, always like raising my hand and participating. I loved it. That's awesome that your high school had a film program too. I feel like a lot of schools don't, so that's so cool to see you were able to start early and really start learning the fundamentals.
Yeah, definitely. It was kind of like a shared TV/film program. So it's kind of we learned a little bit of broadcast and a little bit of production, and but yeah, it was great to see. And we competed against other schools across the country at like we would take trips to contests and stuff for high schoolers. So we were at a decent clip. But yeah, going forward since then, I've graduated from Towson, and since then I've been working full time mostly as a production assistant, grip, like trying to get my foot in the door in the industry in the Baltimore, DC area. So we're starting to move out there, and then on the side also making my own projects. So that's where the Film Fund really helped out. Yeah. So
when you looked at oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm a bad host. I always cut people off.
It's all good. I was gonna just jump in on the film stuff, but if you want to go a different direction,
no, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So last year, it was about a year and a half ago, I guess. I started really getting into pre-production on a film that I had written at Towson in a directed study. So I had worked on that script for maybe a year or so, and then got into the point where we were starting to try to put together funds in order to shoot the thing. And we were applying for grants, so not getting much back. And the Film Fund was actually the only people willing to reach out to me and help me out. So I really appreciate that. And when we got picked as a finalist, I was like shocked. I couldn't believe it.
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grant, grants can be great. I've seen a lot of awesome films come out of grants, but it's so competitive out there. The film fund's competitive too, but we take a bit of
Right.
simpler approach. I mean, a lot of these grants have really, really um, arduous application procedures. Like I remember in college, I submitted to a couple of grants, and one of them was like 20 pages, and it just I sunk so much time into that. Um, so we just wanted to distill that a little bit more into a log line basically, and what are you going to use the funding for? So it's so awesome that you were selected as a finalist and ultimately a winner to win that prize. And I forget, so many projects are happening. You guys shot already, correct? Not yet.
No, we
Okay.
haven't yet. Yeah, we with your donation, it was definitely very helpful in terms of equipment, but we're still at a point where it's just not
Hmm.
financially possible yet.
Gotcha.
So we have a lot of things that we need. Parts of it take place in a hospital, so trying to manipulate a space to make it look like a
Hmm.
hospital and really sell that is tough.
Yeah.
Unless you get a hospital, which is very tough. So um,
You guys have a
different
where are you
logistical
where are you
things.
shooting? Are you in York or are you more Baltimore or DC?
Uh, so currently there's a couple of locations that when I was writing the script, I already kind of knew where I wanted to shoot them, like was picturing it in my head there and stuff. And some of those are in York, but mostly I was trying to look for shooting spaces in Baltimore because some of our grants, some of the grants we have access to are like only available in if you shoot in
Right.
the state that they're
Hmm.
providing the grant through. Um, so for that reason, we were going to try to shoot in Maryland mostly, but still kind of
Hmm.
undetermined. Trying to see what works best for us. Like we don't want to lock ourselves
Sure.
down too much in terms of the location. If we can get
Hmm.
financing, we'll shoot wherever we can make it happen
That
and
makes
make it look
sense.
good.
I was just going to speak from
So,
some of my experience. I'm based in Philadelphia, and we have an awesome film commission. What are the official name is the Greater Philadelphia Film Office, but they have a locations tool on their website, and you can just search hospital,
uh,
and all of these locations come up. They're either hospitals that are film friendly or they're vacant hospitals. I shot a short film, passion project of mine, called The Toms in September of last year, and we had a hospital scene. And I just went on there and found this hospital in it wasn't in the best neighborhood. It was in Chester. No offense to anyone who lives in Chester out there, but
oh,
it was a little rough. Um, and yeah, we just shot there. It was closed down because they were renovating it and it changed owners or something, and the owner was just renting it out. I got it for like it was like $500 for the day or something. So I would definitely.
wow.
I know Maryland has some kind of film office, so I would definitely, if you are shooting in Maryland, I would reach out to them because film commissions can be
Yeah,
super super helpful in terms of at least from my experience, the Philly one. Shout out to Sharon Pinkinson on running a great film office there, and yeah, so I would reach out to film commissions in terms of getting locations. That's always um, my first step when I don't know what to do because they can just be so useful, and they want to see projects happening in their
absolutely.
state. That's their whole job, or their city or whatever region they're in charge of
Right.
managing.
For sure. Yeah, the Maryland Film Office was very
Mm,
helpful to us through college and everything. So we definitely have reached out to them and are trying to work some stuff out. But I'll definitely have to look into the Philly one. I actually went to school in Chester for a year. Um,
oh, did you?
yeah,
Was
before I
it
went to
at
Towson,
oh,
Widener.
what's it called? Widener. Yeah, my cousin went to Widener.
Yeah, I went there for a year for business, and then I transferred out and went to Towson. So
Gotcha. Did you study film at Towson? I know you said you made a bunch of films through
yeah,
while you were at
yeah.
Towson.
So at
Okay,
Towson,
very
I
cool.
was electronic media and film major is what they call it, but it's essentially filmmaking and writing. They have a really great emphasis on story. Not to like plug
Hmm.
Towson, but
No,
Towson's
go
like
for it.
story program is just incredible. Mark May leads the screenwriting team, and like
Okay.
they're just their dedication to story throughout the entire process of filmmaking, like when they teach lighting and they teach camera work and they teach like all these different aspects of film, it's all just based around story. And
Hmm.
like they really push for you to be fluent in that storytelling mindset
Hmm.
before you really start to learn the process of it. So
Yeah.
That's one thing that I don't notice with a lot of schools that I think makes a really big difference at Towson. And
You
we have
think
a
other
lot of
schools
people
are more
coming out.
focused on the technical stuff?
Yeah, more of the technical stuff. Like, I think they assume that you'll pick up the story stuff as you go along, but
Mm-hmm.
really building that foundation of it and looking for that with everything you do is really important to filmmaking, I think. And
100%.
um, so I think they do
And
a good job.
what I was taught, I went to Lehigh, and we didn't have. They have a film studies minor now, and they have a creative writing program. I did the creative writing program, and they started to have screenwriting courses, but not really until after I was finished with the program. But it was more prose writing, but everything they did, and we had great professors, published authors. Stephanie Watts was my thesis advisor. She did an awesome job. I wrote a screenplay, and she always taught me that the basis of all story comes from conflict. So
Right.
two opposing forces kind of coming together and fighting each other, and you have a story there. Like, what's going to happen? So I mean, at the Film Fund, that's what we really look for in our pitches. And I don't want to, unless you're comfortable with it, we generally don't release the pitch sentences until the film is actually released, just out of respect to the filmmakers. We don't want to,
Sure.
if they don't want to be promoting like what their film is about and what their pitch is publicly online before it comes out. We don't do that. But just speaking about your pitch generally, it had such a unique conflict in it. Do you want to talk about it at all, or keep it
Yeah.
more under wraps?
Yeah, I think you can go into it a bit. Maybe if there's anything, I might just stop you, but I don't think there's too much to worry about. So
Why don't we do it this way? Why
I
don't
think you'll be all right.
you um, why don't you say what you want to say about it? Because I don't want to accidentally say something um, and give too
Gotcha.
much away.
Um, well, I'm trying to think about the best way that I would go about this because if I just start rambling about it, I probably won't stop.
Sure, that's fine with me. We have an hour.
So, why don't I think what I'll do is maybe I'll just have you read the
Okay.
pitch and I'll try not to I'll try to fill in some blanks, but maybe leave it a little
Okay.
vague.
Cool.
So,
Let's see. Oh, of course, my laptop decided to freeze mid-recording. Okay, here we go. So, had it pulled up, and there we go. Funds will go to equipment costs to produce an emotional journey in which Rise must decide whether to donate his kidney to save his lifelong best friend who had an affair with his wife 5 years ago. Now, if that doesn't, spark conflict, like, I don't know what does. You have this guy who has to decide to donate his
yeah.
kidney, literally give a physical part of himself, an organ, to his best friend, who also, we find out, had an affair with his wife in the past. It's just like so much conflict is there. There are so many stakes. His lifelong best friend is, I assume, dying because it says he has to save him. He I'm just gonna say he fucked his friend over, and then literally, I assume, had sex with the wife, and it's just there's so much there.
Yep.
Emotional journey is definitely accurate description of that, and I'm so excited to see where that goes, how the conflict gets worked out. It's just such a great starting point for a story.
Yeah.
There's so much to work with there. There are multiple, I can see subplots going on, and it's a lot to pack into a short film, but I think it's also concise enough and specific enough as a pitch that it's definitely doable as a short film. I'm so excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun and there's a lot of like you were saying contrast and conflict with it and like one of the very first things I learned in film is make it primal in
I
terms of
love that word.
screenwriting, make it primal. So, yeah, so there's these like I think it's like 7 or 8 like primal instincts, and if you hit on any of them, you should do fine. And I feel like in this script, I have like 5 or 6
That's
at
so cool.
least. Like there's a love relationship and multiple of them, unfortunately, for
Mm.
this situation. And you know, but it's really more about. Um, I think a lot of people keep saying Rice, but I meant it to be
Oh,
Reese.
sorry.
Uh, Reese's character. It's all good. Everybody does it. Reese's character and his like wrestling with this idea of like, do I help my best friend who screwed me over so hard, or do I, you know, stick up for myself and essentially like
Mm-hmm.
let his life pass him by and not help at all. So it's a really big story and mindset to
Mm-hmm.
be in, I guess, for him. And I'm really curious to see how the character comes out of the portrayal of it. And yeah, I can't wait to shoot it and have it out
Could
to everybody
we
to see.
go into some of those primal instincts if we can? Do you know them all off the top of your head?
Sure. Let me see. I don't know if I'll know all of them. Um, I know we have love, death. Let me see if I can.
It's all good.
It's been a while. I
Mm-hmm.
have them all like written down. I'm like so
Yeah,
bad
I'm
at
putting on the
pulling things
spot.
off my mind, but I have like a chart that I keep. Um, if you happen to know 'em, feel free to remind me.
I don't actually. This is I mean I know the word primal and I'm familiar with the term primal instincts, but I haven't actually um heard of all. Would you say there were 8 of them?
I think there's like 7 or 8. I can look them up if you want.
Yeah,
But
let's we have the internet. I'm going to Google 8 primal instincts and see what comes up.
in terms of screenwriting, I know that is it Blake Anderson in Save the Cat wrote about them.
Okay. That's a book I need to
Um,
read. Everyone always recommends that one and I have not checked it out.
you know, it's a weird like I've gotten a lot of recommendations of it, and a lot of schools use it. It's kind of the norm in school screenwriting classes right
Mm,
now. But the like, I think it's great. I think the book is really well written and tells a lot. But I think that in some ways it kind of pins you down too much. And I
makes
think
it
that
formulaic.
yeah, and it doesn't really go into all aspects of screenwriting, just the structure. And so for structure, it's
Mm,
fantastic. Like I think it's golden to have his like particular structure, but I think that just having that structure and nothing else is going to get you nowhere. And so
mm,
there's multiple books I would say that kind of piece together to make a really great screenwriter. So,
mm,
you know, but I love Save the Cat. It's a great book and
yeah.
it really does um it really does teach structure.
Mm,
Okay, I think I just found it. Sorry. Should have
all good.
come prepared.
No, you're not unprepared. I sprung a surprise question on you.
This is a good one though because um a lot of people don't know it, I think.
Mm. You learned this at Towson?
Yeah,
Shout out
Mark
Towson
May was
University. Let's go. Mark Mays, that was the director of the program you said?
he is the head of the screenwriting department, but he
Okay.
was the faculty that I was closest to and
Mm-hmm.
kind of my mentor. So,
Very cool.
um, yeah, I'm trying to find. If I can't find it in here, we can move on.
Okay.
But um, yeah, I'm not seeing it.
All
Um,
good.
well,
I think
anyway,
well, I think the concept it's
I can
we can follow up if you want to send them to me in an email. We can post them in the show notes when we post it. But
sure.
I just think the concept itself, and we got a couple of them. You said love, death. Um,
Love, death. There's like 7 or 8 of them, and they're all like particular points that if you use them correctly and you hit like a certain part of
mhm,
humanity, it'll like pull on these heartstrings, and it's almost a universal sense of like, you know, we're all different people, we all have different lives, but we all experience these 8 things just because we're
mhm.
human. And that's really what it takes to make a successful movie for everyone to
Yeah.
love, you know?
Yeah, I think
So,
that even if we don't have all 8 right now, we will in the show notes when David follows up with them. But I think just that concept of tapping into something primal. something so emotional at the root of our core. Like David said, it's what people can relate to. You can make that movie accessible, or that film for everyone, and maybe not everyone, but you're really talking about the human condition, I think, and what humanity and what the
Right.
characters have to go through, um, and the challenges they encounter. And then when you have challenges, that goes back to conflict, and that goes back to those instincts and how we deal with them. It's conflict, and how do those characters react to that conflict. That's, to me, what makes a story really interesting. Talking about storytelling, David, where do you typically draw inspiration for your work? You say you've been starting making films since high school. What do you typically write about? Well, we know
Right.
what you're writing about with this project, but do you look to your own life? Do you look at other films, other filmmakers? What gets you going in terms of screenwriting?
Yeah, man, everywhere. Filmmaking is and storytelling is kind of life itself, exaggerated. So I generally draw from things I see around me and my daily life. I'm very like a perceptive person, aware of things, and I just walking around stores and stuff, like I tend to focus more on less on what I'm doing and more on
Mm-hmm.
other people that I see. So it could be like I'm looking for a certain character and I see a guy at Walmart that just like has the look I want or has the personality that I'm looking for, and I might just like try to like tune into what they're, like their day for a minute and try to come up with something, or um and many times that's where things come from. But on another sense, there's usually a spark moment, where I'll get an idea and they come just randomly,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll build on that by just thinking about it over and over again. And maybe I'll see something else that will like kind of add to it, or I'll see something that'll make me think, I'm trying to think of an example for you. Oh, one of my last films, it's actually in post production right now. Um, it's been like a year in post
I feel
trying to get
that
the sound
I've
edited. It's been a
finally finished
nightmare.
sound on my that recent work I was talking about, the toms. Like, I just got the email. I was like, oh, here's the the 5.1 and the stereo mix finalized. I was like, oh, thank God. We're notes and notes, notes. Yeah, it's such a process.
Yeah, it's been a mess, but yeah, that film was called Boxes. Although now I'm thinking about changing
Okay.
the name to Hot Box when we release it. But it's a comedy, like a buddy comedy, about an like a UPS deliver, essentially a UPS delivery driver who gets caught up in this
Oh well.
situation with the Russian mafia, when he's delivering these boxes to somebody's house, and this box goes missing, and I guess it had
Mm-hmm.
some illicit things inside, and so the mafia is like, "Where's our box?" And the whole film is him and this guy who lives at the house trying to
Mm-hmm.
work together, even though they've never met, to try to get this box back
Oh
before
wow.
the mafia comes for them.
Do we
And
find out what's
so
in the
it's a
box?
mess. But the yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's basically just drugs. Um, but the whole premise of it is two people who have never met having to go on this adventure to find this box, and they come across at all these different houses like some
Mm-hmm.
really hilarious characters, and it was really just an outputting comedy, but it ended up
Mm-hmm.
with more of a drama feel to it too, because
That's
there's like
great.
a really good sense of payoff
Which
to it.
of
So
the
um
oh, sorry, God.
but yeah, that film, I was just gonna link it back. So that film idea came to me from I was actually trying, like, considering becoming a Amazon driver, like on the side,
Oh, interesting.
and so I was talking to some guys about it and stuff, and like the Amazon guy would roll up, and I'd run out there to like ask him about, what's it like and how do you like it and blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And so um, we were talking, and he's like, the funniest part about this job is all the people you meet, because you'll come to a door thinking you're just going to put the box down, and then next thing you know, like somebody comes running out here asking you questions. And so
Right.
and then the other side of it came from a different guy that I had asked about it, different Amazon guy, who said it's weird for him because you never have any idea what you're dropping off. Like it's a plain
Mm.
box and you sit it on a doorstep, and you know, um, so I kind of merged those two ideas together in a sense,
Yeah.
and that's where the idea came from. So I guess
That's
ideas,
awesome. Sorry, we just called. I wanted to say we called that idea, that concept of merging two ideas together in my grad program. I went for it was entrepreneurship, but we learned a lot about creativity, and we learned certain creativity techniques. And one of them was called bisociation,
yeah,
where you take two ideas and combine them. So that's a perfect example of doing that. I just think that's awesome.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, that's exactly what it is, and it's kind of just piecing together all the parts you need to make a great story. And in
Mm-hmm.
some ways, you're gonna have to fill in the blanks, but it gives you a start, you know. So,
Mm-hmm. Will you be submitting that short to festivals?
oh, definitely, yeah. Now that one,
Awesome. What are go ahead.
that one's a little bit shorter than the other one that I won the contest through,
Mm-hmm.
or for, but it's maybe roughly 14 minutes right now without the credits.
Okay.
So um, yeah, it's not. I mean, it's a standard short.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we'll get a decent run at that one, and um, I'm hoping for that one. My main focus was more on local stuff. I might send it out to some
Sure.
of the bigger ones and see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah,
What
like
are some of your list?
The Maryland Film Festival is like my biggest one. A lot of people
Okay.
have that are connected to me have been in that one, so it's kind of like a jumping point for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ocean City
Awesome.
Film Festival is an interesting one. So
Oh,
that's
that's
a
Ocean City,
couple.
Maryland.
There's
I assume, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Philly. You guys probably go to Jersey beaches.
Yeah. When I hear when I hear Ocean City, I think New Jersey. And I was like, why is he submitting? I didn't know Ocean City had a film festival, but it's Maryland. It makes sense. There used to be a Cape
Yeah,
May Film Festival that I had to film in. They're no longer a thing, unfortunately. But yeah, I love smaller film festivals because there's always such a sense of community there.
right.
And a lot of them have like cash prizes that you don't always get at bigger festivals, or maybe they're not as competitive because they're smaller. I don't know. It depends on the fest, but um, they're just such great um, networking opportunities too.
Definitely, yeah. And that's what I'm most excited about, honestly, because I love talking to people about film and stuff. And like I mean, it's really a truth to this industry that everything you get comes through connections and
Hmm.
people you know. There's really not a situation I've been in where I've just like applied for something and got it. Like it's
Except the film
all
fund.
just waiting for people to call. Well, job wise, you know.
Right, 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 right.
Um, but so it's, I mean, everybody had said that coming into it, but
Hmm.
really getting into it and seeing the level of, you know, how difficult it is at first and until you build up those connections. And I mean, I've been in it a year now and I've made, to me, what feels like a ton of connections, and it's still nowhere
Yeah,
near what I need to really be
it's
successful.
crazy.
So,
When I graduated, I was looking for a job in film somehow, and I had a spreadsheet on my computer of literally everyone who was even tangentially connected to the film industry, and I was just calling and emailing, and nothing came of it. But it's just,
right.
and I had maybe, I don't remember, maybe 50 people on that list, and it was like once you got through the list, I was like, well, now what? Um, and I ended up doing the film fund, and now I do that full time. But it's crazy. You always think you have a ton of people and a ton of connections, but you always there's always room for more. There's always room to talk to people. Meeting, you might meet
Absolutely.
the crew member for your next short. You might meet a DP. You might meet a director or a producer who might be interested in working with you. It's or another writer to pair up with and collaborate on. Um, it's just awesome. I love festivals. Have you done the festival experience before?
I've been to a few. A lot of them, um, I did a lot when I was in
Hmm.
school, like student festival
Okay.
stuff. Because at the time I was kind of in a higher weight class, so to speak, in terms of school stuff. Like my, just with the program we had and things like that, we like were churning out festival winning
Mhm.
films. But um, as I've gotten into more professional stuff, I've been to a few and had films that I worked on that were
Mhm.
there, but not with my own yet.
Gotcha.
So I really am excited to get there as a
Yeah,
director.
best of luck. It's so
So
exciting and disheartening too when you don't get into everyone.
yeah,
There's a great documentary out there called, it's a little dated, but it's called Official Rejection, and it's the story of this guy chronicling um, his experience of applying to these film festivals and getting rejected from them, and then he ends up getting into a bunch and with the documentary he made about his film where he didn't get into the ones he wanted to actually ended up I think going to Sundance, which is so ironic. Yeah,
wow,
it's a great film.
yeah,
Snappy title as well, which I'm a big fan of. What are your
yeah. The
Yeah,
title is everything.
100%. I'm a big fan of titles. Very important. It's all, hate to say it, but at the end of the day, everything's a product, even if it is art at the same time. And with a product comes marketing, and at the end of the day, you need a good title. You need a good um, attention grabber, good marketing asset. So,
So now, real quick,
mhm.
now that you said that, I got to
Yeah,
ask this question. Do you know the title of my film that I pitched?
I
And
do not.
if you do,
We just have
okay,
the sentence. I was going to ask you before the end of the episode.
can I
Absolutely.
reveal it? Because I'm
Yeah,
curious what you
totally.
think now. Okay, so the title right now is
I hate it.
Liaison.
I'm just kidding. I like it. I like one word titles a lot. Or two word. I just the brevity is there. Um, and liaison, I like that because it's you're looking at, I don't know your exact reason for it. We can get to why you named it that in a second, but when I see liaison, I think of a connection between things, and clearly there's a connection between these people. There's the affair, there's the friend helping out, potentially saving the guy's life. Why did you choose that title?
So when I pick a title, I like to pick something that, like you said, is short and sweet and to the point, but also is like a reflection of everything about the film and kind of its theme. It's like big picture scope, and I really like one word titles as well. So a lot of people don't know that liaison has multiple
Okay.
like definitions. Um, so normally you think of like communication person
Kind of what I was
between
thinking
two
about.
people,
Yeah.
but um, one of the definitions of liaison is a sexual relationship, especially one that is secret and involves
Oh,
unfaithfulness
okay.
to a partner. So it
Yeah,
literally
that's
just
great. Oh, I love that
fits
so much more.
the scheme. So, but then on the other hand, you have that communication because in some ways the wife in this film, her name's Donna, is essentially a
Hmm.
liaison between these two friends. So
Yeah.
it's just
Oh, I
in a
love that
negative
multiple definition
context.
concept. It's
So
so cool. It makes me think
it's
of Pulp Fiction, where he opens up with the definition of pulp or pulp. Yeah, I think it's just pulp. And the first one is like a gritty, ground down substance, blah 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 blah. And the other one is like the crime novels or whatever. Um, so that's so cool. I love that. I'm a big word.
right.
I was an English major, so I kind of nerd out on words and definitions and things like that. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's a good time. Like that's honestly one of my favorite parts of writing is finding that stuff, and it's a part that I think goes unnoticed sometimes, like, or even just like unappreciated. Um is like the
Hmm.
title and logline stuff. So the pitch for this, essentially one word or a one sentence pitch, like
Hmm.
you have everyone do at the Film Fund.
Yep.
That it's essentially a log line. So maybe one of the reasons I did better than most and was able to win this competition here was because um, like I've been trained
Hmm.
in how to write a log line
Absolutely.
pretty well, I think, and um, yeah,
No,
it's really
and
important, but people don't
that's
realize it.
I get that feedback again and again and again from people who have won the film fund. They say what this really did was it taught me to sharpen my log line. It taught me really to get to the root of the story and what it's about and the conflict it's about. Um, and even I've gotten
Hmm.
feedback from people who who don't win, or if they get we have a feedback service, so sometimes they'll get feedback on feedback are that we've written for them. Um, and they always say like, oh, like, thank you so much. This was super helpful. My story was a little all over the place. Now I know, this log line is really important, and that's what I need to focus the story on, or at least the pitch of the story. So I'm so glad you're a fan of that. I was about to ask you some of your favorite things about the
For
Film Fund,
sure.
and you you talked about it before I could even ask it. So I'm so glad you're a fan of that. And ironically, as we're talking about creative titles, I named the film funding company the Film Fund, which is it tells it like it is. If anything, I
I
kind of took
I love it.
inspiration from. Thank you. Took
I think
inspiration
the
from
film
Short of the
fund is
Week.
great.
They used to post one short of the week. That's what they did. So I was like, well, this is a film funding company.
Yep.
Why not make it the Film Fund? Because we don't really have an official, you know, government film fund in America like a lot of countries do. So anyway, um, David, I want to thank you
Right.
so much for coming on the show. What's next for you? I know you're wrapping up post of Boxes, or maybe Hot Box if you rename it. You're looking for some more funding for Liaison.
Yeah. Privately, in terms of my own filmmaking directing
Mhm.
situation, Liaison's definitely next. I've been working on it for a really long time now and pre-producing and trying to get the funding where we need it. And as soon as we can get, I think our total
Okay.
budget right now is around 16,000. So as soon as we can hit that threshold, um, we're gonna take off and running with that. So that's kind of my next step. I actually have a few, 3 or 4 shorts and a feature that I'm working
Mhm.
on, um, writing wise in the works. So over the next several years, that'll be my mission to put out.
Hell yeah.
So
We
yeah,
are we're in the very early stages of launching our feature film funding program at the Film Fund. So stay tuned about that. There's something very exciting coming soon. Hopefully announcing it later this year. It's been in the pipeline for a long time now. With just COVID and all the projects we do, it keeps getting pushed to the back burner, but I am determined to make it happen um, towards the end of this year. So stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll be able to help you out with that feature.
that would be
David, do you
great.
have social media channels we could check out?
I do. It should be at David-Linthicum on Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it to be honest with you. So if you're gonna find
Mhm.
me, Instagram at David Linthicum, David-Linthicum, or my production channel is at Rogue Focus Productions. And my YouTube, I have a decent YouTube, and a lot of my high school films and student films are up there. On you can just search Rogue Focus Productions. It's a big picture of me with a Steadicam.
There you go. Oh, that's awesome. Your Steadicam app too.
Yep, that's like where I'd like to get eventually is get certified in Steadicam professionally,
Mhm.
so that while I'm doing my films on the side, I can work as a Steadicam up, and um, yeah, that's been a lot of fun too. So
Not a bad plan. David, I love it. Thanks for coming on. I want to remind all the listeners that at the time of this recording, our winter narrative and documentary contests are currently open until May 17th. If you're listening to this at a later date, we might put it out sometime later in May. Don't worry, we have 4 contest periods per year. Check out the website, thefilmfund.co, to see the most up to date information and when we're holding those contests. Check out our social media channels. We're at the Film Fund on Instagram, Simply Film Fund on Twitter. We have a LinkedIn. Just search the Film Fund, and Film Fund Co. on Facebook. We have Kit Split gift cards this prize round, as well as that up to $10,000 prize. So check that website for the most up-to-date information for all of our contests. Also check out our new blog.thefilmfund.co. Great filmmaking and producing Chips. I wish we had chips. I didn't eat enough for breakfast, I guess. Tips on filmmaking. Sign up for that newsletter and follow us on social to stay up to date on what's happening with the Film Fund. We have a great ebook on pre-production. Maybe you could learn some of the awesome things David learned with his rigorous academic background um, in that ebook. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Tune in roughly once a month for these episodes. I try to post them on Fridays. David, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
just keep working hard. Everybody tries to work harder than you, so you got to work harder than them, right?
I love it. I love that attitude. Thanks so much, David. Talk to everybody soon. Have a good one.
Have a good one.